Mama. Welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Gibbs, and this podcast exists to help scholarly mamas like you to achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters most. Here, we're changing the overwhelm, juggle, struggle narrative around what it means to be a mama on an academic journey to one of empowerment, fulfillment, and purposeful success. So how do we successfully navigate these journeys? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Let's begin by saying yes to creating a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, because that's when we truly become purposefully whole. So get ready for the most non-traditional, unconventional, and revolutionary approach to PhD motherhood, because one thing I have learned over my many years of experience on this journey is that if you want something different, you have to do something different. But you must be brave enough to think differently first. So, Mama, are you in? Fabulous! Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. What if the biggest thing holding you back from becoming everything that you can be wasn't time? What if it wasn't even energy? What if it wasn't even childcare? What if it was a set of invisible rules about who you think you're supposed to be? Today, we're going to break open that box. Let's get into it. First of all, if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you are one of our regular listeners, welcome back. So lovely to have you here. And if you are one of the many mamas around the world who was celebrating Mother's Day yesterday, I hope you had a wonderful day and I hope you had the most amazing celebration. I posted on Instagram, I don't know, you may have seen if you follow me on Instagram, I am at Mrs. Mummy PhD, and I shared a reel about my mom and about all the different qualities that my mom, I think, has instilled in me and passed on to me. You know, she is a courageous woman. She is a resilient woman. She is brave. She's bold. She's so many things. And I think some of those qualities she's definitely passed on to me. I'm so grateful for that. I've seen her live these out in her own life. And for me, those are some of the qualities that got me through my career journey and also my PhD journey to the point at which I am right now. And so for that, I give so much thanks. But the goal of this episode really is to challenge this idea of the ideal mama or the ideal scholarly mama, because we're all scholarly mamas here, to challenge that mold and really create a vision for authentic, empowered motherhood and scholarship. And so I wanted to start by just naming the box, this box that we have put ourselves in, where we've got these invisible set of rules that are keeping us stuck and keeping us feeling like we're not enough. And I call this the myth of the ideal scholarly mama, because it's a myth, right? We are not going to play into the stereotypes. We're not going to play into who other people expect us to be. And so I really wanted to explore some of these unrealistic expectations and archetypes, artificial archetypes really, that we impose on ourselves. So the always available, for example, always available to do the extra project, to say yes to everything, to do the extra work, to cover this person, to cover that person. And we are running around trying to be all things to all people at all times and burning ourselves out, right? Who said that we needed to be always available? Whose standard is that? Whose standard is it that we as scholarly mamas need to be yes people? That we always need to say yes. We need to be ready for this opportunity and that opportunity. Some opportunities aren't necessarily opportunities. They're disguised as opportunities, but they really are fast tracks to burnout. And it's our duty to kind of spot those things and say no and enforce boundaries where we need to. So this is why we're going to call this one the always available scholarly mama archetype, because for whatever reason, this scholarly mama thinks that she needs to show up for everything, for everyone, every single time. So what about this other one, the perfectly present mother? So always present, always shuffling the kids around to this activity, that activity, doing all the things. Again, whose standard is this? Whose standard is this? These expectations, these traditions, these stereotypes that exist in the world are so artificially constructed. And really the best kind of mum you can be is the mum who's unapologetically herself, that your kids know and love the real you, that your connection is genuine and authentic, and that they can see who you really are. And I think that's so important and probably much more impactful than pretending to be something that you're not. And so this idea of being perfectly present, being perfectly anything, is just so false. And it's leading us to feel inadequate. It's leading us to feel like we are not enough, that we're not doing enough as mums. We're not doing enough for our kids. When really we are. We're doing the best we can. Perhaps you're juggling PhD life alongside motherhood, alongside career building, alongside managing things at home, deepening your relationships, your marriage, your partnership. You are juggling a lot. And I want you to give yourself grace in this moment, that this is not an easy thing to do. And to be able to continuously wake up and go through that cycle day in and day out, it's not easy. Give yourself grace in this moment. Say to yourself, look, I'm juggling a lot, and that's okay. Call that out. But don't be afraid to say also to yourself, I am doing the best I can. I am managing all these hats and all these things in the best way that works for me at the moment, that's getting me through it, that's helping me to put one foot in front of the other. You're juggling a lot of things, and the fact that you are present as much as you can and that you're doing the best that you can, why can't that be enough, right? Why can that not be enough? And so we're going to call that archetype the perfectly present. We're just calling all of these, archetypes that don't actually serve us. We're going to call them all out today. And so this one is called the perfectly present because, again, we're not perfect. And that's okay. We never were perfect and we never will be perfect. And that's okay. And then there's this constantly productive student. I've talked about my pet peeve of the productivity, obsession that's going on, where people feel like they always have to be in producing mode. They always have to be creating outputs. And I just feel like that's unrealistic for people who are juggling so many hats and are doing so many things and are trying to look after themselves and trying to juggle everything. This expectation that you're meant to be constantly switched on like some kind of machine and just, producing and creating more outputs. I just think we were not designed to be that way. We were not designed to function like this in the world. And it's just really burning so many people out. It does not work. It is unrealistic. And it's quite frankly unhealthy. It's not possible for us to be constantly producing, constantly on the hamster wheel. Well, yeah, you could do it, but it's going to come at a huge cost. So you decide, do you want to be the constantly productive student, or do you want to be someone who produces good work that may not win awards and may not win the best of this and the best of that, but it's enough to get you to your goal? I've just finished reading a book called How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christendon, James Allworth, and Karen Dillon. And it really illustrates this point really well. I'm also currently reading another book called The 5 Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom. Again, really nicely illustrating this point that you don't have to work yourself to burn out to be successful, or, in fact, what they kind of challenge the reader to think is, well, how do you define success for yourself? How will you measure success for yourself when it all comes to the end of it? Like, how will you know that you've been successful? And I think this constant obsession with productivity, I think, could very easily lead us to a path that may look on the surface as if it's successful, but when you dig a little bit deeper beneath the surface, you realize actually that's not the kind of success that I actually want for myself. And so I believe that there is a space for doing good work, and that is definitely encouraged, but that work ethic needs to be sustainable in the long term and not to a point where it's leading us down a path that we actually would rather not go down, or is causing us to make sacrifices that we don't want to make. And so I think it's really important for us to define success, but also to really understand where productivity sits in our lives and how we can incorporate that in ways that are smarter, more sustainable, more holistic, and not at the expense of the things that matter the most to us, And this is one of the places where it's okay to challenge our thinking on this, to say, look, am I doing the most here? Like, could enough be good enough? And it's challenging that internal thought process and saying to yourself, like, my best is actually good enough. Like, just saying that out loud and letting it sink in. My best is good enough. I don't have to burn myself out. I don't have to do the most. I don't have to be the best of the best of the best. I just have to be good enough. And you are good enough. And so there is no need for the constant obsession with doing more, doing more, doing more. It's okay to let your best be good enough and to pour your energy into the other parts of your life that need some attention. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, but that's easier said than done. And I get that. I get that it's hard. I get that it's so easy to be sucked into the all-consuming nature of PhD life. But you are a scholarly mama. You are living a multifaceted, multi-dimensional existence, right? Of course you are. You've got other dimensions to your life that you enjoy, that bring you fulfillment and give you meaning and purpose. And those things cannot be ignored for the sake of one aspect of your life, right? And so I guess I'm saying all of that to say that we all need to kind of pause and take stock of where these external pressures are coming from. Where are these, these archetypes that we discussed earlier? Where are these unrealistic standards, I guess? These archetypes that we talked about, like, where are those actually coming from? Well, of course, they're going to come from social media. They'll come from our cultural norms. They'll come from academia. They'll come from the people that are in our lives that will have opinions about things that we do. And so, it's really about being aware and recognizing the influence that these various pressures are having on the decisions that we make, the choices that we make, and the way in which we choose to navigate scholarly motherhood. And I guess our challenge is to say, well, are we going to allow ourselves to be led by these external influences on our thinking? Or are we going to be realistic about what's really feasible, what's doable, what's possible for us, and navigate our journey with purpose, navigate our journey on our terms? And when we allow ourselves to pretend that we can do all the things, what are we actually doing? We are burning ourselves out, firstly. We are allowing things like imposter syndrome to foster because we don't want to admit that we need help, or we don't want to admit that, we're not managing, not coping. We have this sense of fractured identity. We don't quite know who we are because we're being pulled in so many different directions. This is not helping us. This is not helping us. This is burning us out, and this is taking a toll on us. And so there's this kind of paradox of chasing perfection, doing all the things for all the people all the time, but also not really fully being ourselves because we're afraid to actually own up to ourselves and own our shortcomings or imperfections. We don't want other people to know. We hide them, we keep them to ourselves, and we struggle along. And this is why these rigid boxes do not work, because really and truly, when we've got a situation where the world will want to take and take and take from you, and you've only got so much to give, what's going to end up happening is you're becoming less and less of yourself, less and less authentic, more and more performance driven as opposed to purpose driven. And you're chasing perfection. Meanwhile, you're burning out, you're feeling like you don't belong, and you don't know who you are. And so I just feel like we really have to be honest with ourselves about what real freedom actually looks like for scholarly mamas. Like, what does it actually mean? For me, that means being aligned with your values, your natural rhythms, your ambitions, your goals, really aligning those things with your actions and your intentions. And so I think that this really is akin to redefining success for ourselves as scholarly mamas. And that might mean, for me, and I'm just going to share my own personal example of this, it may mean taking a slower path to completing your PhD. It may mean taking an unconventional career path, taking a role that doesn't traditionally fit the, academic description, but allows you to have flexible working, allows you to be present for your kids where you can be, allows you to work without guilt, allows you to have flexibility in your work. Like, these are the things that for me matter in terms of what success means. It's not about titles and accolades, but it's about practically what works for me, what aligns with my values, and what aligns with my ambitions. And those ambitions are defined by me, not by other people, but by me. Another example of redefining success as well might be, I'm not going to put my family life on hold in order to pursue an academic goal or an academic pathway, but I'm going to integrate my life, integrate my real life into my ambitions. Like, I want to be able to have goals and have ambitions and be able to pursue those things unapologetically. But at the same time, I want to take the slow path, or I want to do it part-time, or I want to integrate that with family life, bring my kids along for the journey. Like, I want that blend to be there. And so really, being able to advocate for flexibility, enforce boundaries, setting them, but then enforcing them as well. And also giving ourselves permission to be fully us, to be us unapologetically without, feeling guilty or feeling like we're not doing enough. Really just allowing ourselves to take the path that feels right for us. And so one of the things that I think helps with this is letting go without letting go, right? Letting go without letting go. So letting go of these kind of outdated identities, outdated roles, outdated traditional pathways without compromising your own goals. So still being able to pursue the things that mean something to you, that give you a sense of purpose, that allow you to feel that you are doing something for you. And I think this idea of replacing the should tugs, I talk about this in a few episodes back, those should tugs with ambitions and goals that you have authored yourself, that you have decided upon yourself, and really embracing the power of both, the power of not having to choose, the power of being able to be ambitious, but gentle, but soft, being able to be scholarly, but also motherly, and just being fully and wholly yourselves. One of the things that we say as scholarly mums is that we are smart, we're purposeful, and we're whole. And again, that is just bringing in the joy and the fulfillment of the blend, like really being able to blend all of the various aspects and parts of ourselves. And so how can you create real freedom? Like, what practical tools will help you in terms of creating this sense of freedom as you journey along as a scholarly mama? I think one of the things that I always like to ask myself is, and maybe you can too, is who am I when nobody's watching? Like when no one's around, when I'm not performing for something, I'm not having to perform. Who am I? Right? Who am I? What rules am I unconsciously following without thought? Like, I'm just trying to fit myself into these boxes, but I have no clue as who's actually created these boxes. So what rules am I following without actual thought and intention? And then one of the other tools, as I mentioned earlier, is this idea of redefining success for yourself in your own words, on your own terms. Like, what does success actually mean to you? And also creating a support system that validates your version of scholarly motherhood. Like, your version of scholarly motherhood may be slower than what other people expect. It may be, maybe you're doing this PhD remotely as opposed to in person because it works for your lifestyle, it works for your situation. Or maybe you take a bit longer to finish it because you want to enjoy your life. Like, that's fine. But really making sure that you're creating a support system that enables you to do this, that really supports you along this pathway. And so just to bring this episode to a close, obviously, like I said, as you've been celebrating motherhood for the past couple of days, obviously with Mother's Day and everything, I want you to really think about this statement that you don't need to be someone else in order to be successful. You need to become more of you. This is one of the things that I said in my reel that my mum has absolutely taught me to do. Like this idea of believing in yourself, going after your wildest dreams, even if it doesn't make sense to somebody else, even if it feels hard. You can do hard things, but you definitely cannot do hard things as someone else, right? You are not going to be successful if you are wearing a mask and trying to be somebody else, trying to be someone that you're actually not. And so this idea of success for me begins with self-belief, begins with you knowing yourself, knowing your purpose, and going out in the world and shining like the bright diamond that you are. But in order to do that, you need to become more of you. And again, every version of scholarly motherhood is valid. Like your PhD is not your whole life. Your PhD is not your whole identity. It's a part of you. It is a season of your scholarly motherhood journey. It is a part of your life. It is not your whole life. And I think it's so important for us as scholarly mamas to be reminded of this, because quite often what other people want to project onto you is that it should be your entire identity and it should be who you become. But actually you're becoming so much more than that on this journey, and being able to prioritize your own personal development, your own goals and aspirations that may have nothing to do with your PhD, they're still valid as well. Like that's fine. Like this is you becoming your full whole self. And so I hope this episode gave you a little reminder, a breath of fresh air, or made you feel just a little bit less alone. If it did, make sure you're following this podcast so that you don't miss an episode. And also, if you've got a minute, make sure you leave a short, kind review. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, make sure you leave a review at the end. This podcast really, like I said at the beginning, is a space for us to have real conversations, a space for us to be truthful and honest and just ourselves. And yeah, so if this is resonating with you, please make sure you're subscribed and let us continue this journey together. Until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and lots of gratitude. Take care, Mama. Bye for now. And again, for those of you who are celebrating, happy belated Mother's Day. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and if you did and you want in on this movement, please head over to mrsmummyphd.com or scholarlymamas.com. If you want to do your PhD well without sacrificing yourself or those you love dearest, then you need your hands on all the ways that we can work together to transform your journey of scholarly motherhood from one of overwhelm, disillusionment and burnout to one of scholarly joy and purposeful success. Make sure you head over to mrsmummyphd.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes. I cannot wait to work with you. Remember, Mama, these are our journeys of becoming.